This is Matthew Silk.
James Jaworski.
Claiborne Mills.
It's our guest star today. And this is After Hours. Alright, so, Matt, what are we doing today?
We are speaking to educate people of politics because it is election year.
Alright, Trey, do you want to read off the first question since you're the guest?
Yeah, and thanks for having me.
Alright, well, first, before we answer the question, my political view: I'm a centrist, just a weak independent.
I am a libertarian.
And I am a conservative.
Alright, so I guess I'll go first. I think that we did need someone else in the Supreme Court after Ruth passed away, but I think Trump rushed it a good bit because Obama had to wait a long time after Scalia died. But I think that his choice was good. She's a good candidate for the Supreme Court. I just think it was rushed.
I myself believe just about the same thing. It is the president's duty to, elect a new Supreme Court justice, but there was only about 40 days before the new re-election, but yet they kept Obama 230 some odd days from electing another Supreme Court justice for the same exact reason why Trump, they didn't want Trump to do it.
Exactly. Trey, what do you think?
So I don't know much on this, but I'm going to have to agree with them. They did kind of rush it. Yeah, they should have waited a lot longer. I don't really know much on this question, so.
Alright, well, I just feel like the Obama fan base was more respectable with their choice to hold Obama back that time, and Trump fans, they're a little bit more harsh, so I feel like they would have gotten a lot more irritated if they would have made him wait, even though it was fair.
Yeah.
Alright, you guys want to move on to the next question?
Well, let's not forget, Obama was the first black president.
Thanks for the fun fact, Trey.
I'll start off with this one. I think that the repeal of Obamacare myself, I think it was a smart choice. And the fact that Trump got rid of the fining for if you do not have any health care, I think that was one of the smartest things he's done, because you should have the freedom to not have health care if you don't want to. But because of what he pushed, you would be fined if you did not have health care. But I do believe he should have waited to repeal it for the fact there is no federal health care to really take its place that is comprehensive.
Alright, I'll go. I think that Obamacare is a good thing in most of the matter. It's nice, it helps out the people who can't afford health care. That's why Obama made it. But the thing that really irritates me is that Trump, he did care about taxing the people that didn't need tax, but he has no plan. So he repealed it without having any plan whatsoever to replace it. Trey?
So I think Trump knows what he wanted to do, and I think that he had good in mind. Obamacare was a good thing, but I think he has a better plan to help people.
So to add on to that, Trey, do you believe he does have a plan that he's trying to input at the moment, or do you believe it was kind of on a whim, like me and James kind of believe?
He probably didn't have it all perfect yet, but he definitely has a plan, and I think he's putting it together. And
so you do think he has a plan for it?
Yeah.
He just didn't do it all willy-nilly?
Yeah, no, I believe he has a plan.
Alright.
And
oh man.
For a little bit more context, whenever we say attack, I mean the way he approached it, implemented what he put, which was just about nothing.
I'll start. His take on Corona it irritates me. So, my grandma's in the hospital right now from coronavirus because she was out eating at a restaurant, and she got it from the restaurant from someone else who was there. If Trump would have been smart, he would have made all local businesses and businesses that weren't necessities shut down so this issue wouldn't happen. Everybody would be required to wear a mask, and we wouldn't be going out in public unless it was necessary. I think that it was horrible in every matter. That's pretty much it. I just think that he needed to do something a lot better. Like, people are always like, oh, Trump's so perfect for our country, but yet he's letting all these people die without giving them the right information about how deadly and dangerous this virus really is. Trey?
So, I believe that Trump, I think that Trump knows, like, that we need to keep small local businesses open. Now, he definitely should push the masks a little bit more. Because it is gonna, in the long run, kind of slow things down. But I think he was trying to help local businesses in towns like that are small, like Homer City.
I'm gonna chime
Stay
in.
open.
I'm gonna chime in real quick. See, the thing about the the thing about the local businesses is that wouldn't be an issue if Trump would have signed the stimulus check, which also might make my other grandmother lose her house because she is not having that stimulus check. So if Trump's not worried about local businesses, he can release all of the money that he brags about having to these local businesses. What that money in the government is for the public.
You have anything to say to that?
So, he has unleashed some stimulus checks to us,
One.
but they were for us to use at the small local businesses, so they earn money. They're also meant to help us. Now, I believe it wasn't enough. Maybe, like, I don't think we had enough money in the stimulus check to really help, but it definitely did do some things.
Do you believe that the stimulus check should have been one large cut over $1,200, or do you believe that it should have been multiple separate stimulus checks?
I think it should have been like a $300 check every week or something like
Yeah,
that.
I agree with that.
I myself think it should have been a $1,200 check, monthly or bi-monthly.
That would be better than one check every.
Yeah.
How long has this virus been? Like 8 months now?
Just about.
And once I'm starting to talk now, I'll put my viewpoint. I myself think that what Trump has done during the pandemic, the outbreak, he has not done much at all to benefit us or help us. But at the same time, if he was not ridiculed back in February, whenever he wanted to shut down any non-domestic, any foreign airplanes, or aircrafts, we would not be in the position we are now. And we might, I still believe it would have came into America, but not in the harsh way it did. So I believe that he should have 100%, acted upon better during, the time that it has reached America.
Well, I'm going to pop in real quick. So, we really didn't, America and some other places really didn't know until it was a little too late.
Yeah.
So it could have been here, but he definitely could have shut down a lot quicker than what he did.
Mostly China's fault for that because they didn't inform us.
If they
about
would
how
have
deadly
informed
it
us, we
was.
would have had more time.
Something.
So that's more or less like
They made it seem like just the flu every year. They didn't realize it was a deadly pandemic. Well, they did. They just didn't want to say it.
Something that did happen was the WHO, and there's a huge investigation going on with America, the FBI, CIA. They're all looking into investigating the WHO because they were lying for China so that COVID-19 did not look as bad as it was. It allegedly, I don't want to say it did start. I do believe, but that's besides the point. It allegedly could have started back in November, and it was basically a blind eye to the WHO to make China look more secure. So that definitely had an effect on it. But overall, I do think Trump could have implemented something much better.
Alright, so I'm going to pop in real quick. I think that we are so technology advanced nowadays that this virus we easily could have taken care of it better. We have technology to do online schooling, online work, even payments and groceries online.
Well, I'm going to bump in right there because this is a situation that I have. Most people do not have access to internet connection. Now we have the technology, but some places do not, like in the country, rural areas, they do not have access to get good internet that will allow them to complete their schoolwork or be able to view what's going on in school.
Yeah.
Alright, well I'm going to pop in here real quick. A long time ago, Nikola Tesla, he was a very smart person, and people don't talk about him much because they don't want people knowing. He invented a way for free Wi-Fi for everyone.
Yes.
And the government didn't want anyone to know that, so they took all of his files, and then he ended up dying. So, this just proves to show how much our government is thirsty for money and how corrupt it really is. Alright, you guys want to move on?
One more thing on that. I do believe what you said. Online classes, stuff like that, online work, to an extent, it does help, like you said. It does help a lot. But like you said, some people, it just can't work. Me and James are privileged to be able to do that, but someone like you...
So, another thing is, this is also has something to do with the schools. The schools are able to send paperwork, but refuse to.
Yeah, exactly. Like summer school. That's what they do. They give packets, which they could have very easily done because we always have papers in school anyway, so they could have just written out what their plan was for 2 weeks, and then you could just, every 2 weeks you get a new packet.
For people that do not have the internet connection.
Which I would like to put in right now
go
to
ahead and
put
start.
a little more context, like I just tried to do before in another question. We're talking about federal income tax. Trump has allegedly only paid $750 into income tax. That's what I want to settle.
I'm going to chime in real quick. I worked as a lifeguard for 3 months, and I think that I paid at least half of that in income tax. So, compared to a millionaire and our president, I should not be paying half as much money as he should. My mom pays more in taxes every single year, same with your mom, and more than Trump. That's ridiculous in every way. I think that his records, all of his tax records, should have been released years ago. Like you said earlier, there's a time where you can, whenever you first get elected.
There's a trial when you are being in the process of being elected. You are not allowed to release that information that time, but Trump did have 4 years to release that and refused to do so. So this one I'm more independent on, but he could have released it.
I myself would like to say, like I said before, I'm a libertarian. I'm against unnecessary taxes, but that is besides the point. He went through loopholes to only pay $750, while people, not specifically us, but our parents or anyone else who's closely related to us who does have a high-end job. I won't say high-end, but...
just a job that makes enough to live.
Yeah.
Wage.
I think it's over 15 grand you gotta pay.
Yeah, it's
1,500.
It's not a lot. It's not a lot.
It's not a lot, and people like that will pay more than $750. I'm not gonna go into detail, but I know in my family, both my parents, even my father, who I don't live with, but I still know how he lives, he paid much more than $750.
Oh, my dad easily paid 5 times that in taxes.
My mom, she paid so much more, and that's just middle class blue collar jobs, while he is a white collar job. Well, he was a businessman. That's the white collar. I believe presidents are still categorized as white collar, but that is besides the point.
See, the thing I think is wrong with our government is if you look up a champagne glass chart, where it's a champagne glass, the big head, that's 20% of people, and 85.6% of all of our gross wage is in that 20% of people, and then the skinny base, that's the rest of our people, and that's only like 20% of all of our wages. So us people, rather than the white collar, the rich, we only have 20% of the money.
Like I believe he's trying to say, and I believe too, although I am against tax for the most part, we should all equally, no matter what your, income is, we should all be a select percentage, we should all pay in instead of being able to find loopholes just because you were rich. Do you believe that too?
Yeah.
A little bit quiet in this one.
There's not much to say about climate change, rather than it's really affecting our Earth. And another issue with Trump is that he's leading blind Americans that don't know, they're not educated, to lead them to believe that it's not real. Like with this piece of paper right here, I'm ripping this off. Let's say this is ice. That goes in the water. All the ice is melting and going into water. We don't know how long we have left before California and all of those coastal states are going to go underwater.
Something about that too. A lot of people lot of people are not knowledgeable to know that there is a basically a garbage island in the middle of the ocean because we first world nations throw our garbage into the water, basically ignoring the fact that it exists. And what that does is not all of it's just chunks, not clumps of plastic and garbage.
Yeah.
What happens is after time it starts to dissolve in a way that's more not microscopic, but much smaller.
So you can't see it with the naked eye.
You cannot see it, and then because of that, stuff like turtles, everyone knows turtles, they'll breathe it in. And what happens whenever they breathe it in, or whatever you want to call it, suck it in?
Kills them.
It suffocates them.
Manatees, seals, sharks, whales.
So
all
I'm
of those
gonna add in
endangered
here.
species.
Since the beginning of time, our climate has spiked and has dropped, like temperature-wise and everything. So I think it's very much normal that we are at high temperatures, and possibly that it'll spike again, and it's gonna continue to do that.
What you just said perfectly leads into what I was just about to talk about, CO2 emissions. The world has, obviously, it spikes. Sometimes the greenhouse gases of the ozone layer is thicker than normal or thinner than normal, so that's whenever we get something like, huge amounts of time. This doesn't happen in short amount of times, like in our lifetime. It will happen where either the Earth is extremely hot or extremely cold throughout hundreds of thousands of years. And right now, due to the CO2 emissions that are being put in, not because of America, but because of other countries like China,
Japan, Korea,
India, Vietnam,
Russia,
they have much lower regulations and restrictions than some place like America, which we still need to worry about.
We used to just dump oil right into the water and we didn't care about it.
Even look at Japan. A couple years ago, I can't remember. It was a while ago, but
look at Chernobyl.
That too. Japan. Something happened to one of their nuclear
I know what you're
plants,
talking about.
and nuclear waste has been seeping into our oceans ever since.
Yeah, so that leads into this. With nuclear waste, like a nuclear plant, I think those should not be. Now, I think we should keep coal plants and
I also
natural gas
agree with
things
that.
and oil rigs.
We all agree on that.
I think that we should eventually go green if we can find a way that it doesn't need a resort on anything else.
Well,
Because we don't have a way for green energy yet that we don't depend on something. Water, sunlight,
Well,
air.
I think we should have some, kind of like now, I think we should have some green resources, but as well as the coal plants and things like that.
That adds into something I was going to try to say earlier. It's the Paris Treaty, I believe. Something like that. Trump in 2017 got out of. A lot of Americans believe that would just cause us to stop producing.
No, that's a lie. That's a myth.
What the Paris Treaty would do, it would basically regulate the amount of CO2 emissions equally to every single country that was connected to it, so that, they all, obviously America will produce more CO2 emissions than Ukraine, but there would be a percentage where they had regulations and restrictions that they have to follow that are more strict. That is something I do believe we should have stuck with the treaty instead of getting rid of it. Because something that is a big problem, not exactly in America, but countries where sweatshops are still legal. Vietnam, China, and India are the top three. They have the most CO2 emissions in the world.
100%.
And even one of them are higher than America's when it comes to the ratio. That's something I've got to keep in mind, is there's a ratio. Obviously, America's going to produce more because a much larger country, much more independent on blue collar and fossil fuels, while places like Vietnam and China, they have less restrictions, causing them to produce more CO2 emissions than a place like America, which seems absolutely insane.
All right.
So, from a conservative viewpoint, they believe that minimum wage being raised will raise the prices of other things. Now, that is not so true.
No, it's been proven that inflation happens over time anyways. It's about the gross economic, it's about all of the money in the world. The way that inflation happens is if we don't have enough money circulating throughout the world. But people's conception is that you're going to be spending more, So the product's going to have to go up to even out the price, which if you do that, then raising the minimum wage is nothing. But basically, if you raise the minimum wage, which decided by Roosevelt is supposed to be a living wage, basically you spend more since you're earning more money. The companies are making more money because they're selling more product.
Yes.
And it's still the same price as before. So there's more money flow, which means that the prices theoretically could go down.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Now, to finish it off, he had to leave early. That's what happened with the little cut that you might have seen. My belief, well, I would like to first say a libertarian belief would be no minimum wage. Business should be able to do whatever they want, but the way I do not agree with that, but the way I believe in it is cost of living. Inflation, like you said, happens. We should be able to compensate for that.
Yeah, 100%.
I believe in Pennsylvania it's $7.25 an hour for minimum wage.
Yeah, they haven't raised that since like 2010 or something.
Due to inflation, it's just been, you can't live off of that. I believe it should be raised to $9 to $10 an hour for cost of living.
I think $12. See, most Democrats and far leftists, they think $15 is good. I think that they could start off with 10 to 12, see how that works, and if that works good, then they can move on to 15. But I think that overall it's sound economically, and I think that it's going to move our country forward. Alright, that's a good episode, man. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a good show.
After hours.
After hours.
Just hoping it'll happen again.
See you next episode.